The BMW Compact Cup is brought to you by Nankang Tyres and Gas Shocks.
Welcome to Brands Hatch in Kent for the final round of the Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup. Now, after 12 rounds at 5 different events, the championship is virtually decided in favour of James Gornall, but today shows the last chance for the rest of the field to prove themselves. Before we have a look at today's races, let's look back at the 2017 season.
We're away and racing in 2017. James Gornall wins both races here at Silverstone. James Gornall, the championship leader, in big trouble. Ian Jones, bang into the tyre wall. James Brown, his first ever race win. Daly gets the lead. Gornall slots through into second. Checkered flag for Stephen Daly. He wins here at Snetterton. 3 abreast across the start-finish line. Matt Parks off onto the grass and bang! Stephen Daly controversially demoted to second. Steve Daly has got away pretty well from pole position. He's trying to chop across the nose of James Gornall. Gornall goes for it, I don't believe it, they make contact again. James Gornall on pole position. Terrific start though from Stephen Daly. Look at that from the inside of row 3. James Gornall has managed to pull a decent gap over Stephen Daly, and this could prove to be a pivotal race victory. Steve Daly does make another good start though from the second row of the grid. Daly runs out wide again, but he's over the grass and Gornall's up the inside in an instant. It's a double race victory here at Rockingham for James Gornall. Steve Daly will be second, but he knows that his title aspirations are all but gone now. Well, James Gornall may have already wrapped up the title arriving here at Brands Hatch, but Stephen Daly will be keen to steal some of his thunder and round out his season with a couple of race victories. Sam Carrington-Yates, Matthew Parks and Mark Skeets, meanwhile, are all separated by just 4 points in their fight for fourth in the championship. Well, the cars are lining themselves up on the grid now ahead of what is actually the second attempt at starting this first race of the weekend. This is what happened the first time. We got as far as Paddock Hill Bend on lap 2 when Tim Scott-Andrews lost it and was collected by several other drivers. That was on board with Wayne Flint, but also involved Alan Caulfield and James Brown. All 4 drivers depositing themselves in the Paddock Hill Bend gravel trap, and all 4 needing to be extricated from it. That means that the race will restart, but without those 4 drivers. Here's how the rest of them line up. It's Steve Daly and James Gornall, as ever, together at the front of the grid, ahead of Sam Carrington-Yates and Owen Hunter. Rory Clark, meanwhile, makes his first top 6 appearance on the grid, whilst Charles Plumley and Paul Hinson are welcome returnees. Tim Scott-Andrews, the first of the drivers not to take the start. Also James Brown and Alan Caulfield, as I mentioned. Chris Hack and Gordon McMillan down on row 9. Wayne Flint also a non-starter, whilst Aaron Morgan and David Ashforth share the 12th row. And keep an eye on Ian Jones, way down in 25th place and off the pace in qualifying, but he should make good progress. So the cars are about to get going for the second attempt at this first race. A good look at a couple of the onboards we'll bring you over the course of the day. Aaron Morgan and Keith Towers in particular. The red lights come on, they go out now. We're away and racing. Who makes the best start from the front row of the grid? Fairly evenly matched, but it looked like Daly had held on to the lead from pole position. On board with Keith Towers here, pulling up alongside Gordon McMillan. A slightly slow start for David Sharp there in the purple and orange car, and Gordon McMillan takes full advantage, launches round the outside of 3 or 4 cars and really gains some ground there. Daly leads though towards Druids already fairly handsomely, it must be said, over Gornall in second. Carrington-Yates is third, then Owen Hunter and Matt Parks next in line, ahead of Rory Clark, who has held on to that 6th place finish after his best qualifying of the year so far. There in number 25 is the returning Paul Hinson, getting up the inside of Mark Skeets, who is still part of this 4th place battle, and that is contact between Tom Griffiths and Keith Towers, and Tom exits stage right onto the grass. Keith Towers has been able to rejoin though, I think. But then Tom Griffiths is back on the grass along with David Sharp, who has found his view rather obscured by the fact that his bonnet has flown up. So whether that was involved with the Towers and Griffiths contact, I'm not too sure, but either way, David Sharp race appears to be done. Leaders through to the end of the first lap though, and already Stephen Daly is getting away from this entire train of cars battling over second place as they head up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Brief glimpse there of Charles Plumley. This is Geoffrey Clark we're with now though, as we head up across the start finish line back towards Paddock Hill Bend, and he is embroiled in some of these brilliant midfield battles that are going on. Through Paddock he goes. That's Martin Gadsby in the number 9 car, chopping across in front of us. Meanwhile, the leading pack descend the hill from Druids down in towards Graham Hill Bend, and drivers now starting to try and settle into some sort of a rhythm. This is what happened at the start between that was Tyres up the inside of Griffiths. Now David Sharp is there. Oh, and the slightest bit of contact between he and the sliding Tom Griffiths must have unhooked the bonnet on Sharp's car, and up it went. So a really very minor piece of contact that unfortunately has spelt the end of his race. Here is the battle for 7th place. Charles Plumley there defending the inside line from Paul Hinson in the black and yellow car. Paul making his first appearance of the season, but he did several rounds last year. That is a rather frustrated Jack Yates, who appears to have found the Paddock Hill Bend gravel trap, but he's so far off the track that I don't think that will require any sort of safety car interlude. Certainly not a repeat of the red flag that we saw earlier on. This is Gordon McMillan, 10th place. Tom Langford behind him trying to find a way through in the number 75 car. Turns his way out through clearways. That's Stephen Daly, so he's still leading the race, but James Gornall is closing in now. Remember, at the end of the first couple of laps, Daly had a bit of a gap, didn't he, over Gornall, but now the champion-elect is starting to reel him in. You can see how Gornall in the number 1 car has pulled a bit of a gap over Sam Carrington-Yates in 3rd, and he's starting to close in on his title rival throughout the season, Scotsman Stephen Daly. These two have put on a great show all year long. They've been the class of the field, the pair of them, winning every race between them, but they've never really been separated by all that much from each other. Here is a replay of what happened to Jack Yates, who went off at fairly high speed there at Paddock Hill Bend, just found the barriers, but not too much damage done. I don't think we should see him back out for race 2. This is Aaron Morgan, who is following a brilliant battle just in front of him here as they turn their way up through clearways. The Raw Motorsport machine, Aaron Morgan, who's had a solid year and has improved steadily as the season's gone on. This, though, is the fight for 3rd place. Sam Carrington-Yates trying desperately here to hang on to his podium position. He's got Owen Hunter, though, right there behind him. These two have, more often than not, been the nearest challengers to Daly and Gornall, but not really been able, all that often, to realistically challenge them for race victories. Slippery surface flag there as they turn their way in towards the very quick left-hander at Surtees, quickest corner on the track in fact, and then into Clearways and Clark Curve, one of the better overtaking opportunities on this Brands Hatch Indy layout. Short and sharp, but it always does produce lots of drama. Carrington-Yates 2 wheels in the dirt there though, that will hurt his momentum onto the pit straight, and we'll have to wait and see next time we check in on them whether that place has changed hands. Stephen Daly though turning his way down into Paddock Hill Bend. James Gornall is right with us here, but not yet fully attacking. Beautiful 4-wheel drift there through the apex at Paddock for Daly. Up the hill now in towards Druids. Behind in the battle for 3rd is still going on, and Owen Hunter's prized the door open. He's on the inside, he's gone through, so that mistake from Carrington-Yates was costly. Owen Hunter has finally managed to work his way through into 3rd place, and now in fact they've been caught by Matt Parks, who wants to join in the fun as well. Down the hill into Graham Hill Bend. Owen Hunter doesn't make friends with the apex there, drifts a bit wide. That'll hurt his exit speed, and as a result Carrington-Yates is back up the inside through Surtees. This is brave stuff. They don't want to make contact here. Carrington-Yates is sideways. Has that left the door open for Matt Parks? Yes, it has. Brilliant driving. Opportunistic as ever from Matt. We've seen him make some really lovely moves this season. Always been in the thick of the action inside the top 5, and he's just taken 4th place away from Sam Carrington-Yates. So 2 places lost then for the AWE liveried car on this lap, and he'll be doing his best to try and get those back over the remaining laps. Rory Clark is, as a result of their battling, just starting to close back in again slightly now. One of the other Scots in the championship, another driver who has really improved over the season, and we hope to see him back next year to possibly challenge for the title. Just in front of him, Matt Parks and Sam Carrington-Yates are not quite done with each other yet, and whilst this is allowing Rory Clark to catch them, it's also allowing Owen Hunter to pull away slightly, so these two risk becoming embroiled in this battle to such an extent that they actually lose touch with the cars in front of them, and therefore any chance of getting onto the podium Back through 30s they go. They stay single file for this occasion, but Matt Parks is going to have to defend here, I think, in towards clearways, because Carrington Yates sees a gap up the inside. Well, Parks didn't defend, and Sam Carrington Yates says, thank you very much, I'm going to go through on the inside here. He's run a bit wide on the exit. Can he get across to defend the line and get across the start-finish line? No, he can't. Matt Parks is there. Oh, they made contact on the pit straight. That was very nearly a huge accident there. That is not a nice place to make contact. You're at top speed pretty much as you approach the start-finish line. All contact there between Charles Plumley and Paul Hinson as well as they run side by side, but that was a very close call indeed between Parks and Carrington Yates. This is back on board with Keith Towers then, a bit further back, heading up towards Paddock Hill Bend, turning away into the right hand. That's David May just in front of us, turns his way down the hill, back up the other side now in towards the tight right-hander at Druids. Keith Towers has got Chris Hack, and a recovering Tom Griffiths launching up the inside. Now this could be fun because of course it was Keith Towers who made just a little bit of contact with Tom Griffiths to instigate all of those shenanigans on the first lap just here at Graham Hill Bend, and now Tom Griffiths is right back with him, so this could prove to be an interesting battle over the next few laps. So Keith Towers here then, making his way in towards 30, still chasing down David May, who gets a bit sideways. So too does Keith though as he turns through into the final right hander. That's Tom Griffiths and then Chris Hack behind him. This is another nice little battle that's going to run right down to the wire. Tom Griffiths recovering from his earlier moment. He's attacking Keith Towers here as we head across the start-finish line. Keith in turn though has a nice slipstream from David May, so who's going to pull out and try and attack as they now go on to the final lap in towards Paddock Hill Bend? Well, Tom Griffiths is up the inside and he's gone through ahead of Keith Towers, but Keith will try and fight back up the inside line. Keith has got the inside towards Druids, and that was a textbook switchback manoeuvre there for Keith. He's got the inside for Druids. He's going to show Tom Griffiths the edge of the road, and yes, through he goes. So good stuff that from Keith. He wouldn't back down from the fight. There though are the race leaders, and there is the checkered flag for Stephen Daly. He wins race 1 here at Brands Hatch, but only just. James Gornall ran him right down to the wire there. They were separated by very, very little at the end. There is Owen Hunter from Sam Carrington Yates, Matt Parks and Rory Clark. They're third through to 6th, and then this is the conclusion of the battle further back. Keith Towers is still ahead of Tom Griffiths. Can he hold on to the flag? I don't think he's quite going to be able to challenge David May again as they come towards the start-finish line, and yeah, that is the order they finish in. So May from Towers ahead of Tom Griffiths, who'll be a little bit disappointed with that one, I think, having started so high up the order. Steve Daly won't be disappointed though. It's a race victory by a very slender margin over James Gornall, but a victory nonetheless. Confirmation of the result, Daly takes the win, but Gornall gets the fastest lap, and with it a new lap record underneath Richard Miles' existing record. Further back meanwhile we see Gordon McMillan and Tom Langford ahead of David May, Keith Towers and Tom Griffiths. Worth mentioning as well that Ian Jones got into the top 10 having started down in 25th. A long list of retirements, many of them of course as a result of the red flag incident that curtailed the first effort to start the race.
The championship's gone, but at the end of the day, like I've said before, James is an excellent driver, one of the best in Britain. So, I mean, I'm quite happy where I am. I know I've got the pace to be there. It's just a case of working on the consistency for next year. And obviously, I'd like another few champions like yourself, you know, racing again as a challenge for next year. I don't know what James is doing next year, so it'd be good to see another couple of youngsters or another couple of ex-champions coming through and getting us a challenge.
With Rockingham being such a good race weekend, we pulled away. I just need to keep my nose clean and enjoy the racing and try and give Stephen as much jip as possible. Of course, he got a wonderful start there, so I had a lot of work to do. Couldn't quite find enough pace, but I was pleased to get the fastest lap, which will be a new lap record.
Sam made the mistake coming out of clearways and it just opened the door for me. Luckily the marshals have done a brilliant job getting the car out of the gravel at Paddock Hill Bend, so it opened the gate for me to make a move, and it just about paid off. A few jinks up the one side and then the other, but yeah, buzzing with it.
Well, can Stephen Daly make it 2 from 2 to round out his season in style? Find out what happens in the final race of the season after the break. Hello and welcome back to Brands Hatch, where the final round of the 2017 Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup is about to get underway. Cars on their green flag lap. Here is how they'll line up. It's Daly and Gornall once again set to do battle from the front row, whilst Owen Hunter and Sam Carrington Yates will likely resume their battle from race 1 from the second row. Keep an eye on Tom Griffiths as well. Remember, drop back at the start of race 1. He won't want to repeat in this race. Here we go then, one more race around the short, sharp Brands Hatch Indy circuit to play out. And it is Daly and Gornall on the front row yet again. Aaron Morgan and Keith Towers once more will provide us with onboards from the midfield. The red lights go on, they're out, we're away. Who makes the best start? Very even from the front row. Mark Skeets makes a good start there. Look at that. Well, he always says that he's a good starter, and he really did thread the eye of the needle there to gain several spots before they even reached turn 1. But it is Stephen Daly who had no spots to gain. He was already on pole position, and he's held the lead through Paddock Hill Bend. James Gornall staying with him a bit better this time there, it must be said. Carrington Yates third, Owen Hunter is 4th, Matt Parks is 5th, and Tom Griffiths is 6th, so he's gained a place. So too, by the looks of it, is Charles Plumley, both of them at the expense of a slightly slow starting Rory Clark. Then it's Mark Skeets and Paul Hinson, with Tom Langford and David May there side by side in towards Graham Hill Bend. Then Tim Scott Andrews, good to see him back out there after his car was beached in the gravel, of course, early on in race 1, resulting in the red flag. Oh, Keith Towers there with a bit of bodywork clipping the front of his car that had become detached from a car in front of him, so another eventful start to the race for Keith. Remember, had a bit of contact with Tom Griffiths at the start of race number 1. In towards Clearways we go again, on board with Keith Towers. That's Ian Jones in front of us. Ian gained 15 places in race 1. From 25th he finished 10th. Bit of a mystery really as to why Ian was so far off the pace in qualifying. Usually a front runner, but 2 qualifying positions well outside the top 20. Of course, the grid for race 2 based upon the second fastest lap times in qualifying. Keith Towers here continuing to battle away. He's following Ian Jones through the field. That was Jack Yates that they've both just gone past, and I think the next target for them is David May and then Chris Hack in the orange and black car. Just in front of him is this battle between Alan Caulfield and Tim Scott Andrews, both of whom were involved in that incident at Paddock Hill Bend in race 1, and neither of them therefore were able to take the restart. David May behind has got Ian Jones looking up the inside. He's there, but David May doesn't know it and turns in, and they trade a bit of paint. In front of them though, Tim Scott Andrews and Chris Hack do likewise. That holds Chris up, and so both David May and Ian Jones get up the inside and down towards 30. Something has to give, and it's Ian Jones who sensibly there backs out of it. So David May gets ahead of Chris Hack, but I don't think Ian Jones is going to be able to, because Chris has managed to get over to the inside line to defend and does so. So Ian Jones and therefore Keith Towers, who are sort of working in tandem at the start of this race, both have to settle back in line. Now this is a replay of what happened to Keith Towers at the start. Oh, he was in the middle of a 3 wide situation, then into Druids, ran wide, then ran even wider over the grass coming out of the corner, just avoids the tyre wall, drops down into Graham Hill Bend, where he then gets collected by this bit of errant bodywork. Let's see if we can pick out where it came from. Hard to tell. It sort of appeared from the back of Chris Hack's car, but I'm not convinced it came from his car. Either way, it is another dramatic start to the race for Keith Towers. Now this is Aaron Morgan, and he is dicing away here with David Sheed there, the dark blue car on the inside with the Novice Cross. Raw Motorsport car of Aaron Morgan trying to find a way through. He's trying to get up the inside here through Clearways. Not the cleanest of gear changes there though, so David Sheed has been able to just about hang on. Good to see though more new names appearing in the Compact Cup. Oh, that's Alan Caulfield. That's quite a big shunt by the looks of it on the exit of Druids, that is. He's gone, by the looks of it, head first into the tyre wall, and that car that was undamaged after its incident in race 1 certainly isn't undamaged now. Just lost the rear of the car partway through Druids, got on the grass and lost the rear of the car even more, and then speared straight across into the tyre wall. Not his first big accident of the year either, unfortunately. Alan had quite a big shunt at Alton Park earlier on. That's Rory Clark starting to pick his way back through after a slightly sluggish start. He's up the inside and now ahead of Tom Griffiths, but Tom is trying to fight back as he gets up the inside here through Clearways. The driver's side wing mirror dangling in the wind there on Tom Griffiths' car. That might make his car a bit more aerodynamic, because he's just been able to slingshot straight back up the inside of Rory Clark. Rory tries to fight back into Paddock. Don't think he's quite going to do it. No, Tom Griffiths just had the momentum on the outside line to hang on to the place, so a good attempt that from Rory, and he now has to turn his attention to defence because Mark Skeets is trying to get through, and just behind Mark Skeets, oh, just there is Paul Hinson getting into the back of him, in fact, towards Clearways. And this is Aaron Morgan, who's now dispatched of David Sheed and is instead dicing away with James Stanbury for 25th place, battling up and down the order as ever in the Compact Cup. Across the start-finish line, there's a chink of an opening here on the inside for Aaron, but he'd have to be very late on the brakes. He's thinking about it. No, James Stanbury just a bit later had the preferred racing line there into Paddock Hill Bend, so he was able to take a bit more momentum through the corner. These are the race leaders. They're as close as ever now, as they have been really all season long, with Stephen Daly though out in front. That's not really been the case all season long. He's won a couple of races, but really it's been all about James Gornall and his utter dominance this season. Plenty of encouragement there from the pit wall for these two as they come through to start another lap. James Gornall, although he's staying with Daly, just never has quite been able to challenge either in this race or the first one. He seems to have the pace of the Scot, but just not really been able to pull alongside and make a challenge. Behind, though, these two are still at play. Remember, they spent the whole of the first race pretty much dicing away for third place. Sam Carrington-Yates and Owen Hunter. In the first half of race one, it was Carrington-Yates in front, as is the situation now. But then a mistake at Clearways allowed Owen Hunter to get through and snatch the final step on the podium. We heard Owen talking about that on the podium after race one. He's had some really good battles. In fact, those two have been together quite a lot this year. This is Keith Towers, and he and Jack Yates have been together through most of this race, but I think the battle is about to end because Jack Yates gets a bit wide there through Paddock Hill Bend, ends up going through the gravel, and whilst the car isn't beached, he's able to continue. He's lost quite a few positions there, unfortunately. Tim Scott-Andrews, one of the cars that goes through, and that is that battle resolved for the time being. Stephen Daly now starting to lap a few cars. That's David Sheed again that he's putting a lap on, and you can see that possibly in traffic he's been able to build a bit of a margin actually over James Gornall, who's flashing the headlights at the back markers so as they know he's coming and they can get out of his way. But Stephen Daly is now just one lap away from a double race victory here, the perfect end to his season. Out through Druids, this is David Ashforth there in the blue, yellow and red car, and he's out on the dirt and he's all sideways, and that was very nearly a repeat of the incident we saw before Alan Caulfield earlier on. That was very, very close call indeed there for David Ashforth, but he just about hangs on to it and keeps going without a damaged race car. They're heading up towards Surtees now. This is the battle for 21st place even, as they turn their way through. Martin Gadsby, Wayne Flint just at the back of this group as well. Wayne Flint, another driver who was involved in the red flag shunt in race one. David Ashforth very out of shape through Clearways, but Stephen Daly has not put a foot wrong all weekend really, has he? 2 pole positions and it looks like 2 race victories. He also has the fastest lap in this race, but I don't think it's quite as quick as James Gornall's lap record pace in race one, but nonetheless it is a very, very successful end to 2017 for Stephen Daly. A double race victory here at Brands Hatch, with James Gornall shadowing his every move, much as has been the case throughout the whole season. These two have been pretty much inseparable. Sam Carrington-Yates does get on the podium this time around, ahead of Owen Hunter in 4th position, but those two were as close together at the end as the leading pair were. And there is Matt Park, who comes home in 5th position. Here's confirmation of that result. Outside the top 5, Tom Griffiths gets 6th, Rory Clark 7th, Mark Skeets 8th, Charles Plumley 9th, and Paul Hinson gets a top 10 on his return. Ian Jones made it as far as 13th in this race, not quite as high up the order as he managed in race 1, whilst Tim Scott-Andrews rounded out the top 20. And Geoffrey Clark there, who's made his debut in the championship, was a finisher, albeit down in 30th position.
You can't end the season a better way, to be honest. 2 wins. Would have loved the lap record there, but me and James both under the lap record by miles. However, James just picked the lap record, so well done to him for that. I'd just like to say it's been an absolutely fantastic year, thanks to BRSCC, BMW Race Days, KC Motorsport, just for giving me effectively a championship winning car just down to mistakes myself.
There was no point in getting silly out there. We had some very good races. I got really close at one point, but unfortunately I just lost a bit of grip and I locked up into Paddock and then Druids in quick succession, and that gave Stephen a gap, and from then on it was a bit slippery. I wasn't in a position to push and close that gap. I think the only way I was going to get past him is if he made a mistake or a back marker maybe intervened. Otherwise it was probably going to be a crash because we were too close. It was just a wonderful race.
I think overall I've been 3rd quickest all weekend, so overall I think I deserved it. But Owen's a top driver. He pushed me right to the end. I made a mistake in race 1 to let him pass, but I'm happy with race 2. Made up that I managed to get on the podium for the last race of the season. So yeah, good ending.
So confirmation then that James Gornall is your 2017 champion. Stephen Daly, though, pushed him hard all the way. Sam Carrington-Yates, meanwhile, gets the better of that fight for 4th, ahead of Matt Parks and Mark Skeets. Now, an unofficial title handed out this weekend was for the newcomers, and Ben Huntley, despite not racing here at Brands Hatch, took advantage of David Sharp and Alan Caulfield having bad weekends to hang on and take the crown.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have from the Nankang BMW Compact Cup for 2017, but what fantastic racing we have seen all year long. Well done in particular to James Gornall on the 2017 title, but also a great effort from Stephen Daly as well. We need to mention Ben Huntley, our rookie champion, no doubt destined for great things. Make sure you tune in 2018 for more high-speed action.